Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of John the PM Podcast, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. In today's episode, we're going to talk a little bit about scope creep on those areas. Usually if I'm in a classroom setting or something of that nature, I'll kind of talk, ask for a show of hands, how many people have taken on too much work during the project and all of a sudden they found themselves in trouble. And more likely, hands will come raising up on those areas. So here's the deal on scope creep. Okay. First off, let's define it. Okay. Scope creep, by definition, is anything that is outside of your work breakdown structure to include changes, on those areas. So if you look on your work packages and you see the work packages, that is what you're supposed to deliver. Somebody asks you to do something and you look at your work breakdown structure, your statement of work, and it's not in there, then technically it's out of scope. Okay, technically. However, most people like to be good, provide customer satisfaction, good stewards, and things of that nature. So in my mind, most of the time, scope creep occurs out of the goodness of people's heart. In other words, they're just really trying to make sure that the client, their customer, has everything that they need, on those pieces. And perhaps, when they first heard the request or some minor change or alteration, they thought, not a big deal. And then what happens is that they start running out of time, money, and energy, and they find themselves in trouble. And that's when things start becoming kind of crazy, actually, in those pieces. All right, so what's one to do? Let's look at the mindset first. Okay. Now I'm going to make two statements, and they're going to contradict themselves. I'm going to make two statements, and they're going to contradict themselves. The first statement: you, as a project manager, your job is to say no to all changes or additional requests. Second statement: your job as a project manager is to be willing and able to accept all changes that the customer expects or asks for. Those are two diametrically opposed views. The reality is that there are going to be changes on a project. Okay, so you have to be, realize there's going to be changes. But what you need to have is a process to deal with the changes, and that is what is key. What is your change control process? Now, in a traditional type format, what you'll have is a change control board. As a matter of fact, even in an agile format, I would still suggest a change control board. Why would I have a change control board? I hate to say this, but the very first reason is because it gives you cover. Let's say that a very challenging stakeholder, is just going to bulldog their way and say, God, this got to be done, this got to be done, this got to be done. And you're like, oh man, this is getting pretty rough. You can at least say the committee rejected it. Okay, so it does kind of provide you cover. I would almost always say have a change control board, in that regards. Okay, on that side. In a agile setting, what will happen is that in your product backlog or in your to-do list, and I'm using air quotes, if there's a change or requirement that has changed or become higher value, or all of a sudden appears or whatever comes up, they literally, the stakeholder, the applicable stakeholder, will literally put the requirement in the to-do pile or product backlog on those pieces. At the appropriate time, the project team will come back through and they'll analyze that list, and that process is called grooming. They'll groom and refine that product backlog list and reprioritize which user story come first, second, third, or fourth. And of course, that's done in conjunction with the product owner. Okay, on that side. This is just a real quick interruption here. I wanted to let you know that we do have books on sale, and this particular one is called The Project Manager's Quick Start Guide. I think it is an outstanding read. Why? Because, well, I wrote it. But on a serious note, it is really meant for those who are brand new in the world of
about managing projects, or let's say that you're mentoring a young individual, a young go-getter, and they have the very, very first project and you want to set them up for success. This is the book for you. Down in the description notes, you can go ahead and order at your will. Thank you. Have an awesome day.
Now, a couple of things. One is an emotional piece. There are some stakeholders, whether we like to admit it or not, that believe that if they say that this will happen, things of that nature, in other words, they put in a change request, they believe that it will be done, on those areas. Sometimes you do have to have an educational piece with them. Sometimes it's very helpful to have a strong sponsor, in order to help navigate the political landmines that exist in all organizations. But again, that request was a change request. It has not been approved, nor has it been denied. It is a request. In a traditional format, more than likely it'll come up through a change control board, and a change control board will either allow it to go forward or say no. If it's terminated or said no, or we're not going to do it, reject it, then you do need to tell the originator of the request. Now they're not going to like it, more than likely, so have some reasonable explanation that makes cognitive sense. We don't have enough money. We're running out of time. It's completely out of scope. Awesome idea, but we're going to do it a little bit later. Or we're actually accomplishing that. Shame on me for not mentioning that earlier, but we're actually doing that. It's buried here in these work packages. Whatever may be the case, make sure that you do give some reasonable explanation back to the originator on those pieces. Again, they're probably not going to like it. In a agile methodology, if you're using a traditional agile methodology, meaning like Scrum, Kanban, or some other tool. Just because it's in the product backlog does not mean that it will actually get done. Okay, so this kind of goes back into one of the hearts of agile. What you're trying to do is deliver the more high value user stories sooner than later. And you know what? That idea that they presented might be awesome. It might be great. Might be something that puts things over the top, but it's not valuable at this point in time. Okay, and so we're not going to do it in the next iteration. On those areas. So that can occur as well. On those pieces. Again, the key to managing scope creep is to have a plan to deal with changes on a project. And that's what it all kind of comes down to it. Don't hold it against your teams if they try to do more than what was expected. That's just part of human nature. So you certainly don't want to put a damper on their initiative and drive and all of that. You certainly don't want to do that. Don't do that. But you do have to let them know that there does have to be some kind of governance, because you are concerned that they may not be able to actually finish everything, that's within dictates and things of that nature. Okay. So that should, provide enough details on, managing scope creep on those areas. If you are looking for more information on how to become a great project manager, don't forget to hit that like button and be sure to subscribe to John the PM. Thank you.